Hey everybody, welcome to My Green Pets. I'm William Green. Today is the 30th of May 2020 and we're going to be looking at my orchid collection in the space in the greenhouse that I rent, and then we're going to go back to my apartment and see what's going on over there. So let's go ahead and get started. Let's look at how the Bulbophyllum Echinolabium, and this plant is doing pretty well. It's got 3 spikes on it. And I actually am going to be getting some pollen in the mail soon, and I'm going to try to pollinate Hal and get a seed pod going so that Hal can be a papa one of these days. Let's look at the Sedum types. These orchids were dormant all through the winter, but as you can see, they've had some pretty impressive growth the past couple months. They started growing actually in late January, so they got an early start. But the growths are just doing really well, and it's not even June, and they're already starting to kind of harden up at the bottom there and form their bulbs. So really hoping I get some nice blooms on those. This is a Stanhopea oculata. It's putting out 3 nice new leaves. Next to it you got a Bulbophyllum Lovely who's also putting out some new leaves, and I've sprayed these plants with a disinfectant known as Phizan 20. This one is Bulbophyllum medusae, and the reason I sprayed them is because I want to see if I can prevent the new growths from developing any spots, but we will see. This is Vanda falcata, used to be known as Neofinetia or Neofinetia falcata. It's from Japan, where it's known as the Fukidan, the wind orchid, and it is going to be blooming in the next month or so. You can see the little spike pushing out there. It is a really robust, strong little plant. I love the form on this guy. Plant with beautiful leaves. This is Phalaenopsis schilleriana. You saw it in full bloom a couple months ago. It's got a bit of a problem in one of those leaves. I don't know if it's some kind of a fungal infection, but it is growing a new leaf, kind of pushing out there, and it's got new roots pushing out. So hopefully it's going to just kind of outgrow this condition. Next to that is Dendrobium Country Girl, which is a nobile type dendrobium. And these typically bloom in the spring, but you know, I divided it and repotted it about a month ago, and it's responded by putting out a bunch of buds. And I'm okay with that. I don't know if it's just the shock of the transplant and the division that caused this to happen, but I'm very happy to see that. I can't wait to see it bloom again. Okay, let's look across at the majority of my collection, which are Cattleyas. And recently I got this one from Stephen Van Camp Lewis down in Austin, Texas. This is one of his Cattleya walkerianas. And you can see at the base there, the roots are pushing out, and you can see how skinny the rhizome is, and the roots are really, really fat. They're almost the same width as the rhizome. But it seems to be rooting pretty well in this granite rock and plastic pot, and so hopefully that's going to continue. This is a Lea Rex, and it actually bloomed last year, but I don't think that it's going to bloom this year. Last year I pretty nearly killed it because I transplanted it right before it bloomed. Its roots did not look in good shape, so it's got a new growth and new roots you can see pushing down there, so hopefully it'll be reestablished and maybe bloom for us next year. Now this plant, this is a Bulbophyllum. This is Lovely Elizabeth, and I just kind of wanted to show you the root situation on this plant. Now normally it would like to have something to grab onto, but those bulbs are kind of climbing out of the basket. But they don't seem to mind. They're putting roots out everywhere. Another Lea Rex here. Look at the difference in the previous growth to this new growth. The new growth is so much bigger. And usually that kind of gives me the indication that it's going to bloom, but now I'm having my doubts on whether or not that one's going to bloom or not. Here's another Lea Rex with a couple really nice growths pushing out, kind of crossing each other like swords. Again, they're bigger than the last growths, but I don't think that they're big enough to bloom. Now this one, it was kind of a surprise. I didn't think that it was big enough to bloom, but it was putting out 2 new growths. And this one's popped open, and if you look inside there, there is a sheath, and it's a pretty decent sized sheath as well. So I wouldn't be surprised if this is pushing buds into that sheath in the next month or so. Those usually bloom in August. And then this is a very large Cattleya Rex. It's actually mounted. It's been mounted since it was a little seedling, and it's gotten established on this piece of hickory bark. But I want to show you a little trick that I like to do. If you put a light behind the new growth, you can see there's actually a little shadow in there, and you can see that there is a sheath inside. And now I tried it on this other growth, and although you can't really see it very well here, didn't do a very good job on the camera, I got the similar little shadow in there, so I'm thinking that this one might actually have two sheaths on it. Another nice little Cattleya hybrid. This is Jessie Lee Hawaii. It's got great two new growths pushing out and nice big juicy roots pushing through the medium. Now, one thing about this plant is that the leaves don't tend to open up all the way when they mature. So we're gonna see if that's something that it gets over with time. And that is pretty much it for the greenhouse collection. For the most part, things are doing well. Lots of growth happening. Really getting excited about those Cattleyas, and hopefully we're going to see some really cool blooms on those. But let's go to the apartment and see what's going on over there. Hey guys, welcome back to my apartment. And before we look at the plants, I just wanted to show you in the description of this video there's a link, and the link will take you to this photo competition that is currently being held on the Facebook page of Carter & Holmes Orchids. And I have a picture in the photo competition, and if you would like to help me win this competition, it would be awesome. So if you follow the link, it'll take you to this album, and all you have to do is scroll down to the very bottom, and my photo is this one, the Cattleya Rex. So I would love it if you would like to help me out. The winner gets a $15 gift certificate to Carter & Holmes. And yeah, I would just really be appreciative of that. And also, next week is my birthday, so what better birthday present than to like my photo? I'd really appreciate that. All right, let's go look at the plants. One of my coworkers gave me this plant last week. It's just a little coleus that's been rooted in dirt, and so I'm just gonna kind of keep it in window. These are really pretty, easy to grow. I'm like, whenever I get plants that aren't orchids, I'm always amazed at how fast they grow. I'm like, whoa. But yeah, this should be a nice little thing to have in the window. Here's the Phalaenopsis that I got a few weeks ago actually. Started to open up the remaining buds on it. Hasn't dropped any bud, which is great. A lot of times when you get Phalaenopsis from the grocery store or, you know, big box stores, the buds will drop off shortly after. But it's actually pretty healthy, so it's kind of cool. Oh, I have a symptom of low humidity to show you. So first of all, a lot of you have been commenting, oops, dark. The conditions in my apartment are very, very dry, 22% humidity. And so, I was thinking I didn't really see a whole lot of issues with the plants. Of course, the plants haven't been here a whole long time, like maybe 4 months or so. But I've finally started to see some issues with this plant. This is my Cattail Orchid. And these crinkly leaves are, I think, a symptom of low humidity. And in fact, this growth that is coming out here with a new flower spike, I literally had to pry the leaves apart because they were so tightly bunched together and they were not separating. So actually when I finally peeled them apart, the flower bud was kind of bent around. So I think that's another symptom of the low humidity. The leaves aren't able to spread out. You can see that these lower leaves, these opened when the plant was in the greenhouse, and they're a lot, you know, more spread out. And then the ones that have opened since it's been here are wrinkly and kind of stuck together. So that's important. So this is a very thin-leaved plant. Plants with thicker leaves, you know, like Clivia, these things are made for dry places. And even the Cattleya, it's going to be interesting to see if the new growth on it somehow does not like the low humidity. Even this Phalaenopsis seems to be able to handle that low humidity better than this really thin-leaved plant here. But the Phalaenopsis, last week I called it wrestling the dragon. We finally got the dragon under control here, but it's kind of wonky, but it's okay, whatever. It's just going to be interesting to see what color the flowers are, and I'm going to try to stake it so that the flower spike goes straight up the pole. We'll see. Yeah, so this is the Cattleya Rex. This is the seed pod plant, and it is just doing what it's doing. I am a little concerned that it's a little too dry down here, so I put it in a plastic. I put the clay pot in a plastic pot to try to preserve a little bit more moisture down towards the bottom, because the last thing I want is for this new growth to start putting out roots and then they immediately dry up and stop growing. That would be a disaster. Everything else, these are the Paphs. I'm going to show you this one. This is Paph Michael Koopowitz. Try not to drop it. Okay, that's better. So it's actually, it had a pretty nasty case of bacterial rot that happened really quickly about a month ago. So I pulled off that leaf, and I got some disinfectant that I'll show you in a minute that I've been spraying the whole plant with every, I don't know, maybe once a week or so. So hopefully that's going to help. It does have new roots growing. That is very good. This plant generally doesn't have a problem rooting and putting out new growth. As you can see, it's got 4. The problem is the rot. So I'm hoping that if I stay on top of it with the disinfectant that I can keep the rot from continuing, but who knows these things. I was joking with so many plants on Instagram earlier today about how I think Paphs are the most stressful orchids to grow, at least that I have grown. There's, you know, thousands that I've never even heard of probably, so but at least in my experience of the orchids that I have grown, the most stressful for sure. But, you know, as I was saying earlier, high risk, high reward, right? When things do go well, they're lovely, right? So, you know, it is what it is. But that's it for today, guys. Thanks for stopping by and checking on my green pets. And if you want to help me with the photo contest, I would be touched and very much obliged to you. But that's it, and check me out on Instagram if you want updates throughout the week. Otherwise, I'll see you next weekend, and hopefully we're going to see some more Cattleya sheaths coming soon. So until then, take care, happy growing, and we'll see you next time.